politics. To me, you guys kind of fall under the people stories, and so I'm just going to give both of you guys just take a short moment to say what your business is all about, and you guys can, doesn't matter who goes first or second.
Just as a note, I'm kind of behind the camera today, so you might hear my voice, but you might not see me. But we are on live stream, and we'll be podcasting as well. So
cool.
Oh yeah, and Danny, you're better looking, so I guess you go first.
Oh my gosh, our noses are getting longer already. I'm on the highest chair, so I can hang with you guys. But
I got the face for radio.
Yeah, we actually met you, Dave, coaching tennis. You
That's
and Judy
right.
coached our kids at tennis
back
in the day. Read about you from time to time. Heard about you from time to time. Thank you for fighting a good fight. Appreciate people like you. That's good. And then most recently through church. So we've known each other quite a few years now, which is fun. And then during the time when we first met, I think I was flying for a Pacific Northwest based billionaire. We were back from overseas flying and just getting a lot more into the business aspect of flying during that period of time. Those were fun years though as well.
Well, you and your wife Liz came over for breakfast a couple months ago, and it ended up being a 3.5 hour visit. It was awesome, and we'll get into more of the church stuff later. But it was fascinating. Again, from that moment on, I wanted to do this podcast because of what you did in the past. And then, Roger, you and I know each other through Athey and you guys, and we were your father-in-law became a really good friend. He's a great guy.
Yep.
At least I think he is. I don't know about you.
But, it's still.
Named Steve. He's
awesome.
Yeah. But he said it'd be nice to you today, by the way.
Okay.
But Roger, what's your take? What's your business?
Business with you, or just what we're doing here, or just in general?
What's Compass Air?
Yeah.
What's Compass Air?
Compass Air, what was great, Danny and I met. The first time I met Danny, he looked like, I think it was Garth on Wayne's World. It was at a church. So dress up, was it like a harvest? It was the harvest party.
It was Halloween, and my wife's blonde, and so she does Garth.
Oh, you were Wayne. Okay, you were Wayne. That's right. I didn't know which one. But and so saw him, and then we kind of became friends. And he goes, "You know what I want to do?" He says, "I have this idea. I've had it for a long time. Maybe we need to start, managing jets," because he's been a pilot, and Danny has seen full circle from airline to the private industry, and he saw how it's being done out there, and he just had this idea. I think, man, we can do it so much better. They're leaving so much left on the table that we could, improve on. And so I had just liquidated the last of my real estate. I owned a bunch of real estate down in the Willamette Valley, and we moved up here. And so I started to liquidate it and had some capital to work with. And I told Danny, well, I got some money. I can help get this started. And so anyway, the four of us, I think the wives and us met, and we chatted about it, and we just kind of moved forward. This is probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago?
Yeah, about 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it was great. And so we put the website together, got some business cards, some golf balls, and Danny went through a lot of his warm leads, and we picked one up, and we've been managing a jet for a while now, and looking into onboarding another one, and so that's kind of how we got started.
We've done 3 transactions now. We've done 3 buy-sell transactions, 1 overseas transactions. And then just recently in selling a fractional share of a jet that we purchased. We did well. We purchased it out of Geneva while tariffs were still in effect. We knew we were doing well because 83% of the business jet market is in the United States. Europe, this was last summer, didn't have access to the U.S. market at that time. Very complex transaction, set up a customs warehouse in the UK to close. And we thought, and we were telling the owner, we are saving about $1 million on this business jet. And we were just about spot on. We literally saved $1.13 million on the jet. we added up what we paid just recently to get a current valuation on the jet, and then all the costs, almost $500,000 that we spent on the transaction itself, and we were 1.13 million under what a very comparable jet is listed for on the market right now by a reputable seller. So that was really fun. That was a big success. Good for the owner to see as well.
Because bringing it over from a different regulatory body to the FAA was the big hurdle.
Yeah.
And Danny was, he was a huge part of that. Organized chaos is what I think I've heard it called. But anyway, it worked out, and the jet's on a trip right now. And
yeah,
so
I'm not trying to sound simplified in that, but it's just like, Judy retired a couple years ago. I bought her a new Honda CRV.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in and I told him I was going to pay cash. And so the owner of Wilsonville Honda was there. And he goes, well, I heard something about cash. Huh?
Was that Parker Johnstone?
And he goes, but we don't normally operate that way. He goes, we could set you up on, he gave me several plans. And I go, so you don't want cash? And he goes, he didn't really come out and say it. And I said, well, I want to pay for the car because I want to hand my wife the title, on her retirement. And I said, I don't want payment. So here's an envelope with the money. And he just goes, he got like that. And I said, but if I'm going to hand you, $43,305, I'd like to have this. And I said, I'm not making payments on this. I want this. So I wanted a few things like, 5 years of oil changes and more than the warranty said. And I want these mats and I want this and I want all that. And he looked at me and goes, no problem. Okay, we got that. But I mean, that's not like a normal purchase, big purchase for us people. But buying an airplane, holy smoke. I mean, this is like, I know they have more money than I do, but still to go spend $1.13 million or something.
Well, we saved 1.13 million.
You saved that much. The plane
Yeah.
costs a lot than that.
bringing it out of Geneva.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the transactions are complex. The airplanes, there's a lot of moving pieces to inspect, right? Unlike a house. So, and then there's inspection statuses. So you have a lot of inspections on an aircraft based on flight hours, calendar inspections, yearly inspections, 10, 12-year inspections, all these things. So that has a lot to do with the value of an aircraft, and then how it is going to come through inspection. For example, a lot of times landing gears are inspected at 10 years. Now, landing gear parts are one of the exceptions to manufacturer parts programs. They won't cover your landing gear even if you paid into the program for parts. And that can cost anywhere from maybe $200,000 to $300,000, $400,000 in a worst case scenario for a landing gear overhaul if there's corrosion found in some of the bigger pieces of the landing gear. So you invest a lot into inspecting an aircraft because we don't want to have corrosion in some of the major pieces of the gear.
No.
Does that make sense? So small things that can be missed can add up to hundreds of thousands later, if that makes sense. You really need to do it right.
And you've flown this plane. You flew it from Geneva to here.
I was on board. I ran the trip. I'm not type rated on this particular jet. This was a Phenom 300. And Phenoms don't typically fly overseas a lot. So it's challenging to find crews that have a lot of international experience and Europe experience. So I was on board. I ran the trip. Had another captain flying it. One of the guys that we use right now to fly it. So that worked well. It's fun.
Well, the question I have for you guys is, the thing that fascinated me as a young person, I was scrambling post-college. I had a buddy of mine. We were just done selling Christmas trees. We were just trying to make dollars, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in between jobs, well, a guy that we went to church with at the time, John Ekman, worked for Georgia Pacific. And he goes, you guys need to come meet my boss in Portland. We got a project down in Coos Bay. I'm like, all right. And I might get a little closer on the mic here. And so I said, okay, where do you want us to go? And so he goes to the address at Georgia Pacific. And so my buddy Marty and I drove in there and we meet with these guys, and we didn't know up from down or sideways from sideways what they were even talking about. I was refinishing an old building, mansion. It was Port Orford cedar. They got pressure washed, and then they tried to paint it too soon and it all bubbled up and it just about ruined it. So our job was to contract to go in there and sand it all down and get it prepped for new paint. We had never done anything like this. We were just making it up as we go. We're like 23 years old. And so anyway, we got done with this long conversation. I said, well, we need to see the job. And he goes, okay, tomorrow morning, 7:45. And I'm thinking in my head, I've been to Coos Bay. I'd rode motorcycles down there. Danny and I both ride motorcycles. And so I go, wow, we're going to have to like leave early, to get there. And I said, okay, we'll be there. He goes, all right, be at hangar number 17 or something at Portland International Airport at 7 o'clock. And I'm thinking, no, not 7. It was like 6. And I go, okay, we're okay. We act like we knew what we were doing. We didn't know nothing. We get on a 8-person private jet, like a Learjet, with some of their people, and they were mothballing the Georgia Pacific plant down in Coos Bay for logging. It had been there for decades.
Yeah.
And so we get there, and I don't like to fly. Unlike you, I don't like to fly. And I've only been on an airplane once. Next thing you know, we're sitting in an 8-passenger Learjet, and it's just like, oh, dude. And so everybody's laughing at me because of my lack of love for flying. So they're teasing me really bad. We come into Coos Bay, we come over the bay, and it's pouring down rain. The runway looks like a swimming pool. And I'm like, we're going to die right here. We're just going to die. And the guy lands a plane, just a piece of cake. We get off, and I'm just like, because I've never been in a little tiny plane. I'm like right next to the captain almost. I can hear him breathing. And so we're there several hours. We bidded it super high, just thinking we got to get out of this situation. We're in over our heads. And they totally accepted our bid, and we got the job. So we got everything we wanted. We spent 4 glorious months with our wives down in trailers in Southern Oregon, in Coos Bay.
Yeah.
And just had a blast. Ate seafood every night. Marty was a fisherman, a crabber. We did all that. No TV, no goofiness. It was just a great summer. We got the project done, did a good job. But that day when we got done getting the bid, we flew back, and they all were laughing at me again. And they said, this is Bill. He's the fighter pilot. And I go, what's that mean? And they go, you'll find out. Well, he takes off, and he just like puts her, really steep, coming out of there. That was scary enough until we get into Portland, and we got fog down to like, what's the minimum fog thing?
Depends if you're like, there's different ways of doing it. Depends how the crews are trained, what the airplane is crewed for. But the most basic terms, we have like what's called a Category 1 instrument landing system. And you can land with a 200-foot high cloud ceiling and half-mile visibility. And then under special qualifications, you can go down from there all the way down to 0-0, like 0-0 auto land from there. But in your case, you guys would have been Cat 1 instrument landing system certified, and the crew equipped for that. That's the most common. So you could have come down to, I would guess, most likely, you could come down to 200 feet with a half-mile visibility.
I thought they said 2, but I was going to say maybe 3. But, Danny couldn't even see the wing. I mean, I'm like looking out going, where is, we're going to land in the middle of the Columbia River. I'm already making my escape route. If we don't die there, I'm going to be able to swim in. I'm a good swimmer. I told him, I said, Marty, you're on your own. I said, because I know you can't swim. And we popped out of that fog bank, though, and just hit the ground. And never stopped. Man, my legs were rubbery for, oh, my goodness sake.
You call it runway landing. Oh, there it is.
It's
either you call like approaching minimums go around, minimums runway, or approach lights in sight. You get the approach lights in sight, you can come down to 100 foot over the runway. And when you do that and you come down to 100 feet and there's the runway, it's like runway landing. It happens fast. It happens very, very fast.
I'll never forget it.
But it's also very procedural as well. Nothing about that is willy-nilly, seat of the pants. Nothing like that is happening.
But I like to say about that trip, it was that aircraft was just a part of normal operations for Georgia Pacific. I mean, they're big, they have it. It was a tool they used, and it got you down there. They needed someone to bid it, and they got you back. Yeah. And it's great. It's funny. I always kind of cringe, but we go to church together, and our pastor, he's always talking about, your Kenneth Copeland's, the mega churches with lots of money and his 3 jets and stuff like that. And he always hammers on, oh yeah, private jets. And I'm thinking, oh, that hurts. I just wanted to know, I was just say, hey, do you know how many families are supported and provided by private jet ownership, whether it's pilots or people who work in the business or something like that? But I understand what he's saying, because that kind of has that's the rich person's catch, is just to say private jet,
Private jets are the greatest redistribution of wealth program of all time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who you are, but I've flown for 5 billionaires in a row, one after another, and they employ hundreds of people.
Yeah.
That have good, secure livings supporting these aircraft, performing overhauls, flying them, maintaining them.
Even one
All the
local
things.
FBO at an airport can employ anywhere from 25 to 100
What's
people.
an FBO?
It's a fixed base operation.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's your FBOs where they can maintain your aircraft, they can park it for you in a hangar, they can supply fuel services, and that's just a fixed based operation. They can provide all the services, but all those services required, people fueling and catering and a place to meet, and they can provide pilots and parking for your hangar. So even just one of those, and there's thousands of those throughout the country, and those are all just your guy working, trying to make money, trying to provide for his family. And so like Danny said, it is because it's owned by somebody who's employing so many people who are paying tax dollars. So it's
If you wanted to do a lunch meeting in Seattle today, we could get you there. It'd take 19 minutes to get to Seattle, and there'd be a FBO, a fixed base operator, that would fuel the aircraft here and run a bunch of services for us. We get to Seattle, they do the same thing. There'd probably be 20 different people involved, everywhere from hourly employees to others, and then we'd be back here. There would be a whole bunch of people involved in this whole process.
We're gonna go to Gym 100 in Newberg, Oregon, owned by Eric Harrison, a good kid that played basketball and tennis for me. It's a malt shop hamburger place right here in town, and so I like going there. The root beer freezers are amazing, but let's just say we decided to change and go to the Hilton in Seattle today. What are you gonna charge me? I mean, cause if three of us are probably, I don't think Rob gets to go today on the food. I don't think, but if he does, whatever, we're probably dropping a big $40 on this lunch today. So, what we're going to Seattle. What's it going to cost us?
Well, the question Dan's going to ask: do you own your own jet or not?
No, we're using you guys.
Do you own the airplane? So we don't do charter operations.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's
So
animal.
There's levels of flying. There's flying on airlines that owners jokingly call peasant flying. There's flying first class on Emirates, and that is very nice. You get into the private world, and there's charter flying, which is really lower rung on a lot of different aspects. There's fractionals that you can buy into, jet card programs you can buy into, and then there's the corporations or people that buy their own aircraft because they can afford it. That's what we do. That's the best way to fly. Things are very relative. You own a vehicle. You just bought Judy a vehicle. To afford Judy's vehicle, she doesn't need to charter it out to pay her bills or to make payments on it. You paid cash for it, right? We manage aircraft for folks that can afford to purchase their airplane, if that makes sense. So individual purchased the aircraft that we just brought back from Europe. He can afford it. Now, what would it cost him to get to Seattle? This aircraft direct operating costs are about $2,600 per flight hour. I said it's a 19-minute flight down there and back. So we're going to actually do it in less than one flight hour. So we're going to put about $2,000 of time on the aircraft for fuel, paying into hourly engine programs, hourly airframe programs. We're going to hire a captain for somewhere. Well, we've got 5 on the list we use for this aircraft. Most likely he's going to make it's close to $2,000 per day, is that you pay pilots by day rates. This is a smaller aircraft. That's definitely on the high end of what you pay for this size aircraft. This is an 8-seat jet. So
you pay for what you get.
Yes. And we're really particular with who we use. I fly with almost all of them. And there's plenty of guys, if they're task saturated, if they're struggling when things get busy or there's a diversion or challenging weather, we don't use those guys. We have some guys that are older that are really sharp, fabulous judgment. We put them with the co-pilot, even if it's a single pilot type aircraft, because we want a young mind in the cockpit as well that's going to see things coming up and perceive things a little sooner. So I'm going to say you're going to be in at $2,000 for the jet itself. Okay. $1,850 for your captain. So now you're at $3,850 for your round trip to Seattle. The FBO there is going to charge you about a $600 landing fee. So where are we at right now? Maybe close to $5,000 for a day trip to Seattle and back.
Yeah. Let's go back to, you said it's an 8-passenger?
Yeah.
So let's just say I get 3 other couples besides me and Judy. and we want to go to Palm Springs and play golf
Mhm.
on say a Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday.
Yeah.
So we got 3 days into this thing. We all chip in on the cost. This is kind of the one I wanted to see if it's even like.
Well, this
fathomable.
would be considered a charter,
Okay.
where you guys call up a company, they have an aircraft, and they will provide the aircraft, they'll provide the crew, they'll provide the fuel, all the FBO services, and they'll bunch it all up into a quote. You say, hey, can you quote us on this trip? We're going to be gone for 3 days from PX or Hillsboro to the desert, Palm Springs, or Thermal is probably where you'd go down there. That can be anywhere. That range right there could be anywhere from the low on 25,000 to about 35,000.
Yeah. You'll pay about
charter.
$9,000 a flight hour for a charter on a jet with about a $2,500 direct operating cost.
Yeah.
You'll pay a whole lot more on a charter, maybe 3 times to charter. But if you don't fly a lot, charter, right?
Yeah.
You don't have 8 million, 10 million vested in an aircraft.
Yeah, if
You
you're
don't
gonna
need it.
But your
Sitting
other
there.
level between, though, you guys said was the like if you call it sectional or
fractional
Fractional.
ownership. Yeah, fractional ownership is a really good option. That's attractive, and you can own an aircraft with someone else.
okay.
50-50, 60-30, however you want to do it. 2 partners, 3 partners. 3 partners is definitely a crowd. Usually 2 partners works best, and it's really like a marriage. You need to be made to work together to make that work.
Still, you're going in, it's a $12 million aircraft. You're coming up with $6 million to get into it. So that is still, it's still an option, but it's still an option for those who are above, what did we say, 50 million net worth
Yeah,
to jump into something like that.
definitely. And you need to fly enough hours per year to own to make it worth it. In other words, if you're going to fly 50 hours a year, you're better off chartering or going with the fractional like NetJets or something like that versus owning an aircraft.
If you're
outright.
extremely money conscious like that, there's owners
Unless
who
you're
want
going
it.
to fly a lot,
Yeah.
then you save a ton.
Right, you're going to fly a lot,
Fly
but there's some who maybe fly. So we have an example. They only flew 80 hours, 80 to about 110 hours. And, but this person just wants the jet because they can afford it,
Mhm.
So there's different levels of owners too. And then there's on the what'd you call it, Danny? The fly by night or the Wild West. There's that level too, which we kind of stay away from.
So what you just mentioned, splitting seat costs with people to pay for an aircraft, or you own an aircraft and you got guys on board paying for seats, highly illegal. Very fly by night. The operators that do that tend to be the guys you read about in the news. I have never once read up on one of these small jet crashes with a professional crew and a professional operation. There are so many major steps that have to go wrong before there's a major incident in aviation. It's never where one thing got missed and the downward spiral begun. It usually starts with the operation, and it goes all the way through to what they were doing that day and why, how the aircraft was maintained, the type of crew they had on it, how the crew worked together, did the crew plan for contingencies or not. All these things come into play. But as soon as you get, because it's illegal to sell seats on your aircraft if it's not a charter. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
People are doing it. They do it a lot on the East Coast using WhatsApp because it's very secure. And that's all being investigated. They're trying to shut that down. There's something that will come up. Pilots will see from time to time. It's a good story, and this makes the pilot aware. You're flying some guests on an aircraft. Very normal. I've done it. I could let someone borrow my truck, right? But I should not be renting my truck. And something isn't going smooth. Something's delayed. And they say, well, I'm not paying for this flight. Like right then, it's an illegal charter. Does that make sense? And that stuff happens. That's another world. That's kind of the underbelly of corporate aviation. It's out there. We don't go anywhere near it.
Yeah.
We don't touch it. We just work with owners that can afford their aircraft and don't need to do that kind of thing.
So Danny, if you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but you've had a little bit of change of heart. You and Roger are still partners in this, but you have decided to go to the church we all go to here, Athey Creek.
Yeah.
And so, but you had a little bit of a career change. You want to mention that?
Yeah. So it's a fun story. I've been flying for a long time, since way before getting married, before having kids. Been on the road for a long time. Been based overseas, flying for a billionaire out of Hong Kong, flying for a billionaire out of China proper, came back, flying for billionaires out of here. A lot of long Europe trips. For quite a while, I was doing 2 5-week Europe trips a year, longer trips in between those. And I love it. It's really fun work. It's challenging family-wise. What I did get to do is see how some of the biggest management organizations of business aircraft do things in different parts of the world and different cultures, whether it was UK-based Metrojet, SR Jet over in Hong Kong, in China. I've worked for Solaris here at Clay Lacy. It's fun to see different aspects and how different organizations do things. For example, I won't say what organization is which, but I can tell you there are some that if you have no experience in aviation and you don't know what kind of aircraft you want or how you want it operated or what type of crews you want on board, I would say hire this organization because everything is spelled out to a T. They have a one way of doing it and you don't have to make any decisions. If you're experienced and you know exactly how you want things done, how you want aircraft taken care of, how it's prepped for flights, all the little stuff that goes into trip planning, there's another organization I'd say go with, and every single account is so custom tailored to that owner, you can get exactly what you want.
Yeah.
What we've kind of done is picked and choose what we liked about different aspects and kind of molded those into Compass, which is really neat. And then because of that, like I just got very invested in Compass and trying to pull out of flying and being on the road.
Which was hard because nobody wanted Danny to quit.
Yeah. To this day, even in a conversation I had with somebody the other day.
Yeah. Because he's a good pilot. He's qualified, and he does things right, so that's why Danny's name is, synonymous with aviation. A lot of the owners that, okay, you're going to get there safe, So
Compass has allowed me Compass has allowed me a lot more flexibility into what I choose to do with my time because I'm not on the road all the time. I'm not beholden to having to travel last minute or whatever we're doing. And I just felt like putting the pause on full-time flying for an owner, which is what I've always done for a lot of years now. I can stay in aviation with Compass, and I enjoy that more. It's more challenging to me, if that makes sense. I have a phrase I like to use. I call it dinners in the oven. I'll be sitting in the cockpit over the Atlantic somewhere, and the owner's like, man, Danny, you're not doing anything. And I just say, dinner's in the oven. Like, it's a very complex trip. We got multiple nationalities on board. We're going to a lot of different states within Western and Eastern Europe. We're combining up with other business jets and moving passengers around on some of these legs. It all gets very complex, but it's all been planned out for months, and now we're just cruising. That planning aspect has become the challenge for me. That's the big matrix that's fun to watch all your pieces fall into place as you operate. So I've gotten more into that than flying, because flying has just kind of become the easy part. It's fun, don't get me wrong. I like being a pilot, but it truly is the easy part, flying the airplane. And I'm not saying that in a complacency type of way in any way. But the running trips and managing aircraft in these transactions is much more of a challenge, which is fun for me. Yeah. But it pulled me out of flying, so I had a lot more flexibility.
Right.
So to answer your question, there was a company that wanted me to come fly for them. I had one more meeting, and I just felt like there was something very different in store for me. so strong that I canceled the last meeting. This is last March. This would be
I remember
March.
that.
Yeah, this is March 2025. I canceled the last meeting, and some weeks went by that I felt like I know this is what I'm called to do. This is just an interesting phase. We still got Compass. We're still managing these aircraft. And then one of the pastors at the church came to me, and we started the discussion about being on staff there. And the doors opened. And so now I'm pastoring full time and still side hustling with Compass.
One
And
thing
it's
I
a lot of
want
fun.
to stop you.
Yeah.
See if Roger picks up on this. I know you will. When you came over here for breakfast with your wife Liz,
Yeah.
Super fun morning, and you're obviously a really interesting person to chat with. But when you use words, it's like in coaching, in sports where you have a lot of terms, your coaching staff, and there's a lot of camaraderie, and there's a lot of planning, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But when you're talking about your flying and everything like that, like when you say side hustle, and stuff like that, it's kind of fun because it gets more into the coaching lingo of like how we would, you have your ways you talk, and it's not like any other pastor I've met. You're like, then we got to start talking about motorcycles because I grew up doing enduro, doing pro enduro. You do a ton of it too, and so that surprised me, but it didn't surprise me after we got talking about it. Roger, what have you found, like coming to this partnership with Danny, that he's not a typical pastor dude? I don't think. I mean, but
I'm not sure how to take this.
I don't think Brett's a typical pastor.
You don't want me to answer that. No, I'm just kidding.
Brett says stories, and I'm just like, he's just like that dude next door that you want to barbecue with. That's how I take Brett. But then he knows his Bible, 800 Ways to Sunday, and I know it pretty good. But he just catches me every weekend with something I just don't know.
Yeah,
he's so talented that way. But he doesn't come across to me as that pastor dude. And Danny, you're just like so down to earth when it comes to stuff, but you fly, you race motorcycles. We've talked about the accidents we've had on motorcycles. You're not just sitting in your study with all the Bibles around you, 7 days a week and then just speak and then go home and have a casserole and then, go to sleep for the afternoon. You're gone. You're busy. You're doing stuff. Roger, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I'd say that's great. And I think that's why Danny and I, we get along. And, during this whole time, last couple of years, we had some real heart-to-hearts on where we want to take Compass and what he's going to do. And then, what I'm doing and stuff. And I think it's come around to, and he's kind of, because when we first got going on this, he was everything. He knew everything about the industry, about flying an aircraft. And he knew about managing. He knew quite a bit, and he was just trying to pull all that together. So I was just a guy who had some money, and I have another business that I run. I cater to lumber mills around the country, around the world. And I was into real estate, and so I'm a general contractor also in the state of Oregon. And so I sold that. And so my only experience, and I told Danny, I go, yeah, I was working on my pilot's license back in '95, I think. And I even brought my little logbook. I had probably, 36 flights in there. And so that was the extent of my,
but you are
aviation.
I've been to your house and played Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
And you're really, 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 really good with numbers.
Well, I can manage them. And
he's a card counter.
So yeah, I wish. So anyway, I kind of brought the business side of it, and Danny was all operation. And we got to a point where Danny was really all of it on our first transaction because I was just kind of treading water. I go, wow, I'm just kind of watching this happen. I put the website together and, I did the business stuff. We got golf balls for marketing and did some other things like that, but he was really all the jet stuff. And so got to a point where he's all, I got to do some other, I can't do it all. And so anyway, we really, come together and said, okay, well, let's move some of that on me. And now it's to the point where it was a learning curve. I can plan flights. I can get pilots. I can get the information from them. I work directly with the owner to find out what he needs, and it's kind of moving smoothly now, I would say, for Danny.
Mhm.
And so I think now it's a bit more enjoyable for him because he's doing what he's supposed to be doing is the operation. He's going to evaluate a pilot that comes in. He's so anyway, it's been a steep learning curve for me, but I think we finally got to that point. Any business, any two people coming together do anything, there's going to be challenges.
But you think you two are funny on this thing. It's like getting to know each of you in different lanes. You don't even know you guys knew each other. Is when you're a kid coming out of high school, you're thinking, okay, you got to be a nurse, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be a teacher, you got to be a fireman. I mean, that's it right there.
Right.
And you don't think of anything else. And I don't think schools do a very good job telling you all the options,
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you two are sitting here at your age now, and you guys aren't very old, but all of a sudden you're going, we run Compass Air, and I do this, I do that, and I do this, and I do that, and I fly that, and I fly. It's kind of like a little bit more of a Jason Bourne lifestyle, flying all over these type stuff. And then you never dream of these opportunities and jobs really exist.
Yeah.
But like you said about these millionaires, they have all these people that have these careers that support their family and buying the groceries and stuff. And they're not the sexy guy flying the plane, but they're doing all this stuff. People don't realize. One of the things we want to do here, we do education, politics, Jesus, sports, and people. And the reason we do that, I think you guys fall under the people section, and that's what fascinates people the most. They want to know about other people, either because they're connected to it in a way where they want to. Maybe they're a pilot. I know several pilots of small planes, and they'll listen to this and they'll like it, or they just are interested in it. But they'll listen to people's stories all day long. Mm-hmm. I think that's why Pastor Brett's so good, because he gets those people stories in there really well. But for you guys, it's like, I think people, when they watch us, we try to get to the young people and say, hey, don't close the lid on all the opportunities that are out there. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep listening to the podcast and say, geez, I'd like to fly airplanes, or I'd like to, everybody wants to make a lot of money, that's their simple go-to, but there's interesting jobs where people really like what they're doing.
I like how you put that because, like I said, we had a lot of common. We both wrestled in high school. We grew up on dirt bikes. I have a son and a daughter. He has a son and a daughter. There's just a lot of
dirt bikes too?
Similarities. Oh yeah, grew up on dirt bikes, and I've got scars to prove it. The broken wrists and the dislocated shoulder.
It's not a sport for wussies.
Yeah, no. We talk about the riders and our love and hate for certain riders that are racing Supercross and stuff like that.
We bet on Supercross every week. We're part of the.
That's right, fantasy Supercross. But I love what you said about, because my son, he's going to be 10, and I'm always asking him, hey, what do you want to do? I go, hey, because we're watching sports or whatever, and we just watched this documentary on a guy named Jimmy Button. He used to race in the 80s and 90s, and he crashed and injured himself, but he came back from paralysis, and now he runs this elite, agency. So he manages, what's that called? When you manage athletes and stuff, you're just their agent. Yeah. An agency for motocross riders and stuff like that. Right. And he's really successful.
Jimmy Button is doing that.
Yeah, he's doing that. Yeah. And so I asked my son, I go, you want to be a sports agent? They make lots of money, you want to be a pilot? And a lot of them are trying to get him to end up doing and taking over what Danny and I are kind of putting in place, whether it's my marker business that I have, or
I've used your markers, by the way.
Yeah, the grands, yeah.
I was I'm still qualified, national certified hardwood grader.
Yeah, that's right.
We regrade all the lumber that came from the East Coast.
Yeah, that's right. I have a Weyerhaeuser and Canfor and a lot of big mills buy my crayons. And so, but anyway, so I just try to do that. Say, hey, it's not just fireman, policeman. Pilot is up there too, or whatever, doctor, or
which
lawyer,
are great careers.
Great careers. But there's an infinite amount of careers, and just the opportunity. I want him to look at. Because when people say, oh, there's no more opportunity, it's done. Everything's been done. Everything's been invented. No. If you wanted today to start selling tires, you could go find tire distributors and start Dave's Tire Sales, just like Discount Tires, Les Schwab, all those. You can do that if you want to, if you have a passion for tires, And so we just did it with managing jets. And just like people talk about AI, what's great is we need more radiologists now because AI does such a good job analyzing x-rays. So now we're short. We could take all these x-rays for all these people, but we're short radiologists. So it's increased, a career path for a lot of people,
Right.
And so the opportunities are still there. That's why they call this the land of opportunity, So I just kind of cringe when someone says, "No, there's nothing else I can do. That's it. It's over." But there's so many, like what Danny and I just did. We said, "Hey, let's start a jet management business," and we were able to do it.
You guys know too that I'm gonna catch Rob here in a second. Before we go, let me find
we
Rob.
have about 5 minutes.
You want to do a quick promo?
Well, yeah, I just want to tell everyone that they can watch our shows on YouTube Live. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just like it when people hit the subscribe button. Helps us out. That's about it.
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know we got about 10 minutes left.
Well, yeah. I mean, I appreciate you guys coming along because I think what we want our listeners to get you guys is, 6 years ago, I'm working in education, I'm coaching. I had no idea what happened in my life. Just this morning I was telling you I got a call, and a very threatening call. I hadn't had one for a while. And I was kind of like, so now I kind of find it
I'm
humorous.
sorry, it was the wrong number. It wasn't. Oh, okay.
So
I meant to call somebody else, but I got
a
you.
lot of humor here too. But then, I never thought in a million years I'd be in boardrooms and giving speeches and talking to people all over the place, and death threats and people cutting your cable. None of that, podcasts. I didn't know what a podcast was. I think what I like though is the fact that for our show, we really want to show people different sides of stuff. Mm-hmm. Whether it's politics, like right now, I support all the candidates running on the Republican side. I know most of them well. I like quite a few of them, but we want to help people be more knowledgeable voters. We threw Jesus in on our show, guys, and this day I know we talked about this a little bit, but I didn't grow up going to church. Judy did. And so with our show, we've had people call in and say, "Hey, I tuned in for politics, but I heard you and Paige going Bible-y on Thursday in your podcast." That's what we call it, going Bible-y. Because we know everybody's not out there going to church all the time. And matter of fact, there's a lot of people out there that don't go to church at all, never been to church. They don't know what it's like. It's like if you put me in a plane and say, "Dave, fly the plane," I'm like, boy, oh boy, no, that's not a good idea. A lot of people are scared to go to church, even like, say, Mac Athey. I talked to somebody this morning, and I said, "You really should come back to Mac Athey." They actually visited West Lynn Athey, and we weren't there for the 10 o'clock service. And I said, "Come to Mac Athey. I think you'll really like it. There's a good vibe down there. Not that there isn't at West Lynn, but we want people to understand about Jesus. It's not that difficult, and it'll change your life, obviously." Amen. We want people to do something as silly as sports to find out about people stories, and they can hear you guys. And so I think wrapping up, what I'd like to know is, for us average people who will never fly on a private jet, and it is considered, those are for all the rich people. In a nutshell, what would you guys say to those people about, you kind of said it, that different industries come up and, they have to be taken care of. Somebody has to service it. Somebody has to do the job. What would you say to all those people out there that are like, well, I don't even fly first class on a commercial jet. Mm-hmm. And so what do you say to those people now, like, why this industry is needed? I guess that's my question. Why is this industry needed? It's obviously needed because a lot of people put into it. It's not just for rich people to have a cushy ride. That might be part of it, but why is this industry needed?
Good question. So obviously there's the cushy ride, but aircraft are tools, and they're efficient tools. For example, I flew a flight in a 8-seat jet and brought guys. We did 14 meetings in 5 days. Okay. This was with a big trucking operation, and we saw 14 of their biggest clients around the country in 5 days. And I can't think of how many executives I had on board, maybe 5 executives. To do that trip, to carry out those 14 meetings with 5 executives, if you added up the time, over a month of everyone's time it would take to do that, and then the cost of all the hotels and everything else, we did 2 to 3 meetings a day, and we knocked it out in one work week, Monday through Friday. there comes a point, I know this for certain with another flight department I work with, where I plan some of these trips with executives on board and we pack in meetings for a week. We actually did it cheaper than airlining and hotels and time. We actually saved money. The goal is not to save money. You don't have to save money to justify the aircraft. But when you get all the convenience in the tool and efficiency and you save money on top of it, then it just becomes a no-brainer. So
Danny's not even calculating, say you do, how much do executives make every hour?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You're not even calculating those dollars that are saved.
Costco, for example, their flight department only ran when they saved money. Okay. Intel Corporation, they had a flight department for years and years. They had 6 jets. They had a huge algorithm, spreadsheets, and when it became more economically feasible to fly engineers and executives on airlines and hotel them at different Intel facilities, they would do that instead of their own shuttle. But Intel operated 6 business jets because they actually saved money. And then all the other benefits of that are just astronomical. They call jets time machines, right? Because you can go, you can get your work done, and you're right back, and you just made a trip somewhere. It should have taken 5 days, and you're done already.
And what I want to add is those executives are going to these meetings, and people, all these executives going to these meetings, eating these great luncheons or whatever. Okay, what are they doing at those meetings? Those meetings that these executives are having will end up producing millions, if not billions in dollars in production.
Yeah.
And when you have production, whatever that may be, you have employment and you have people who are feeding their families, you know. And with jets, same, you could take cars. I drove a 94 Honda Civic, you know, and I'm driving next to a guy who is in a Bentley, you know, on the same freeway. The same skies, you got people flying coach, you know, and then you've got your, you know, your Gulfstream G800 flying right next to them, you know. So there's levels in everything. And I think jets just is that epitome of wealth and success that really gets hammered on. And I need to talk about my pastor. I go, quit hammering on the private jets.
Well,
it's
Pastor Brett listens to our show.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously, he told me that one day, and I'm like, you do what?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, guys, time is a commodity that a lot of us forget. Judy and I are getting older right now. We're making reductions in our demand on our schedule.
But you're still not acting your age. You're still going.
If I ever do that, will you hurt me?
Yeah.
Put me over the
I'll
handlebars.
hand it for you. I
Yeah.
will. I promise.
I thought Danny was kind of just you know, a little quiet dude, being a pastor now and everything. And then I get to know him. I'm like,
Can't get him to shut up.
wow. But time is an important commodity to everybody. I think that the people out there that are doing this industry, appreciate you guys being on the show. It's something I want to know more about a long time. There's businesses like yours in a different vein all over the place. I think what's been really interesting to get to know you two guys through Athey Creek. This is a shout out for going to church, is you get to know people. We played cards at your house. Obviously we both married way up.
Oh,
well, you did too.
Yeah,
Jeez,
yeah, we all did.
We all did, and so did Rob. Rob's got Amanda. So we have great wives, but you meet people at church, and sometimes you go with them for years, and you don't even know them. You know, we kind of got to know each other a little bit more through, you know, Stephen Renee.
Yep.
And so I think that's why you got to get to church someplace, because it gives you an opportunity to get to know people, and they're encouraging. Like you both are encouraging to me. Danny, when you were at our house that day, your energy level was really encouraging to me. And I'm older than you, but still a little better looking than you. But it was just fun to see your energy out there. And you're like me. I mean, Judy and I don't watch Jeopardy. We get a lot of stuff done, and it gets a little harder as you get older. But I try to tell people all the time that we're trying to do that right now. We want to have a lot more fun this next couple of years.
Yeah.
We've worked a lot. We put a lot of time in. We volunteered a lot, and we'll still do that. But what's today? Tuesday?
Monday.
Yeah, tomorrow night. We have to choose between the Newburgh City Council, or we have to go to Century High School and watch Newburgh play basketball. We're gonna do one of them. We don't know.
I'd go watch basketball.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might
City
be
council all day long.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of friends down there. But the reason Stand Tall exists is just to encourage people, and Rob, you got anything to ask these guys before we go?
No, just thank you for being here. Fascinating business. Well, hopefully you guys can come back.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, we'd come back. You can even throw a specific question or whatever, and we can go an hour on it.
Yeah, no, that would be fun. Rob normally is sitting here with me. We banter back and forth all the time. He's a little bit of a St. Louis guy, so he's got that Cardinal thing going on. I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan, so we don't like each other right there.
Oh, yeah.
Rob's Catholic. I'm going to Athey Creek. I'm better, Rob wrote for the Stars and Stripes back in the military back in the day, so he's quite the writer. He keeps
Rob
me in
knows how to
mind.
push the buttons here, and that's all that matters.
Pushing Dave's buttons.
Yeah. Well, producer Paige is coming back from Hawaii tonight on her little mini vacation, turning 40. So we'll look forward to having her back, you guys. Like Rob said, get to Apple CarPlay and Spotify. And Rob, I'm going to be exploring X a lot the next 2 weeks. So we will be doing that. And so thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You got
Yeah, it was fun. Do it again.
Peace out, you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Watch your head.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You know what's funny is being at the golf course, I'm around golf balls. I go pick golf balls up. I wash the dirty ones with a hand scrubber when they're out there, just so I can put them back in a thing. And so I'm around golf balls all the time. This is a very good golf ball.
Renee loves going with when we play at like Coal Creek or something like that, because she'll come along because I'll play with Reagan.
Okay,
And
sorry,
we'll
it's
play.
a little bit of a.
Are you talking Duff and Steve's out?
Yeah, we play